Have you ever flown a plane?
Yes, but I can't take off or land.
Okay, well, you can do most of it. 98% of it you could do. So that works out
Those are
well.
really important parts, though.
Hey everyone, this is David Starr from Watcher Pass. Today I'm talking to Michael B. Chait, the co-writer and director of Wolf Hound, which is coming to theaters digital and on demand on June 3rd, 2022. We're going to talk to him right now. And while you're watching, if you could like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. Helps out a lot. Thank you. So thanks so much for joining me. This is Michael B. Chait, the director and co-writer of Wolf Hound, which is coming to theaters digital and on demand on June 3rd, 2022. It is a World War II action film that's kind of, I think the main claim to fame is that it uses actual vintage World War II planes for the air combat scene. So it definitely is something more realistic than what you'll normally see in a World War II movie. It gives you some very impressive visuals. So thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So I guess the first question is, you I guess wrote the underlying story or maybe the treatment for this film. So I guess what was the inspiration for that? Was it, I feel like I think it's based on some sort of actual historical program that the Nazis had. So maybe that was a jumping off point. But how did you kind of come up with this idea, and what inspired you to write this?
Well, in 2013, I was lucky enough to direct a commercial for the Yankee Air Museum, based in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and they have a fully, beautifully restored B-17 Flying Fortress bomber there. And when I was scouting the locations, I stepped on that plane, and I'm not exaggerating, a rush of emotion hit me unexpectedly because I realized, like, oh my God, I'm standing in the same place where the real, like, 18, 19-year-old guys flew and fought, and many gave their lives for us in World War II. And as a Jewish man, as well as a director, I just thought, okay, there's a movie here. We got to do something. And my writing partner, Tim Ritchey, he said, we can't do a total fictional story. We got to find a kernel of truth, or like something that really happened. But I didn't want to cover something that's already been in a movie tons of times. So we searched and we found the KG-200 program, which was the Luftwaffe really going up, shooting down Allied planes, both RAF and American, fixing them up and trying to fly them back into battle. And that is a really frightening thing to think about. Thankfully, it never worked. They were always found out. There's like stories here and there of like minor successes, but they never got anywhere. They were always chased away or shot down. And our story is, what if they got that close to actually doing something catastrophic from that? And that was the jumping off point. And from there, I love the idea of a hero's journey story, an underdog story, with a Jewish American hero specifically. And that's where it came from. And we wrote it essentially as like, what would we like to see as like our favorite World War II movie? And that's what we did.
That's a great premise. And also, like, I like that you mentioned we want to do something that hadn't been done, because it must be very tough to find some aspect of this war. I mean, I know there were tons of missions and battles and things like that, but it feels like World War II has been covered fairly extensively because of our kind of interest in it, and also the historical aspects of it. So it definitely must have been, it's nice to hear that you found something that wasn't really well explored in the movies.
It was a challenge, and we didn't want to do like the tinier version of a bigger movie that already exists.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was very important for us to do something as original as we could.
And, I think the marketing and the big spectacle in this film are the aerial combat sequences. So where did you find these planes? Like, how were you able to get them up there to do some of these air combat aspects? And how did you film it? Because it must have been really tough.
It was, and that a huge amount of that goes to Craig Hosking, our aerial coordinator. He did Dunkirk with Christopher Nolan. He flew for Michael Bay and Pearl Harbor. His resume is
these are all small indie films, right? Like small indie films.
Very,
like,
very, very tiny. Ours is so much bigger, but no. He through various aviation connections, I got on the phone with him and I pitched it to him. I pitched it to aerial cinematographer Dwayne McClintock. And one of the reasons they signed on is because they thought, like, wow, like everything is CG nowadays. Everything is just, I hate to say it, it's like a cartoon. And I love the original Top Gun, Battle of Britain from 1968. Like, those are the movies that did it for real. And there's something about that. I think those are still like the kings of that genre. And so they jumped at the chance, I think, not only because of the aircraft we got to use, but I think the ambition attracted them as well. And as far as the aircraft, the Yankee Air Museum supplied the B-17 Yankee Lady. That's the crown jewel, like pretty much a main character in the movie. And the Military Aviation Museum down in Virginia Beach supplied the Spitfire, the Hurricane, B-25, P-51s, and one of the only Me-109s left flying. And that was kind of eerie working around that, because that was a real combat veteran aircraft. And the way that we filmed it, we filmed, every way possible, ground to air, with the planes, coming right at the camera. And I was operating that most of the time. So that was brilliant of me saying, so fly at my head and then pull up at the last second. We filmed from handheld inside the back seats, inside every place, every window from the bombers. My cinematographer, Wes Gathright, got a lot of rides that were like insane roller coaster rides in those planes. And then Craig Hosking and Dwayne, they filmed from his camera ship that has like a 360 gyro stabilized camera system on it. And we were able to fit an Arri Alexa Mini in that pod. And I'm like, truly, I'm still pinching myself at the footage that we got. Like, I can't believe we have this movie.
Yeah, no, it's amazing to see. And I like that you mentioned how Top Gun did it right, because one of the things that they've been talking about in the new Top Gun is that the actors actually piloted those planes in sequences. And I was talking to James Maslow for another movie, and he mentioned, he was so excited to talk about this, he mentioned that he was flying the aircraft. So how did you get them up there? What was it like for the actors to actually fly these planes? I know that they had help, but there are scenes where they are actually up there flying the aircraft and doing the dogfights. So
well, okay, small spoiler alert.
okay.
There was always a pilot that was out of frame with their hands on the controls. And so, that's why you were talking to James Maslow, is because somebody else was flying it. But he's actually getting his pilot's license, and my dad actually gave him a few lessons. He is a pro. Like, his first day of shooting was, okay, nice to meet you. We're putting you in the back seat of a P-51. Say all your lines. Good luck. I'll direct you from a radio. And I mean, it takes a lot of guts to do that. He was pulling serious G's, being flipped upside down, all of that. And in the B-25, our visual effects supervisor, Ryan Urban, who he's a ace. He's been working with the Wachowskis for about 10 years. He was able to have his team digitally erase the real pilot sitting next to James. And that took like maybe 3-4 months for like just a handful of shots. But we just had the premiere last night. We saw it on a gigantic screen, like the biggest screen in Michigan. You cannot tell, like, the artistry that they put into this to erase the other pilot. It looks like James is really flying. And he technically was. His hands were on the controls, just like some of our other cast members in the B-17. But it's going to take till movie number 2, once James has his license, to fully be flying the plane. But no, he was great. I mean, he was very much like in the tradition of Harrison Ford or Tom Cruise. Like, he just jumped into doing all his own stunts, all his own flying, as did Trevor Donovan. They literally never had stunt doubles in the movie, which is pretty incredible.
That is really impressive. That's definitely more than I would have expected from any action star. So that's an amazing story. I know we have limited time, so I'm going to switch to, I call it the lightning round. They're just lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your personal experiences map to things in the film. You can feel free not to answer any of them. I won't be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
Okay, all right, let's do it.
First question. I think I know the answer to this because your dad is a pilot instructor. Have you ever flown a plane?
Yes, but I can't take off or land.
Okay, well, you can do most of it. 98% of it you could do. So that works.
Those are really important parts, though.
Those are. Did you ever want to be a fighter pilot?
Yes, until I was 12, and then I saw The Rock, directed by Michael Bay, and I became a filmmaker.
That sounds like a pretty nice progression and good inspiration for your future career. As someone who had World War II plane models growing up, I had a P-51 Mustang. Did you have like World War II models when you were a kid? Did you make them? Or maybe you make them now?
Yes, absolutely. We had models we made, little die cast, like micro machine ones. And I've always loved warbird fighters for sure.
For sure. And the last question is, have you ever jumped out of an airplane?
Hell no. And I don't plan on doing that. We had Luke Akins and Andy Farrington, two of the best skydivers on earth. They did the skydiving for our movie, and I was pleasantly on the ground watching a monitor. So
that's again something for the sequel. James can actually fly, and then you can be right there filming them as people are falling out of the airplanes. It'll be exciting for everyone involved.
If you jump tandem with me, you got a deal.
Hey, I will do for an IMDb credit. I will do that. That sounds great.
Okay.
Perfect. I think this is recorded, so I think it's a contract.
Oh crap! I don't want to jump out of a. Damn it! You fooled me.
We'll both try new things. So thank you so much for your time. This is Michael B. Chait, the director and co-writer of Wolf Hound, which is coming to theaters, digital, and on demand on June 3rd, 2022. Like we were talking about, it has some impressive aerial action scenes and definitely should be experienced either on the big screen or in an impressive theater room. So thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
That was Michael B. Chait, the co-writer and director of Wolf Hound, which is coming to theaters, digital, and on demand on June 3rd, 2022. It's a World War II action film that actually used real vintage World War II planes for these air combat sequences. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.